Should we have spent so heavily in the past? Probably not. But we lived the dream.
If there's one thing that Leeds' journey has been, it's eventful. From winning titles in the old Division 1, through to the Peter Ridsdale era, making the Champions League semi-final in the late 90s, with the likes of Rio Ferdinand, Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, missing out on the Champions League and going through disastrous financial collapse, including a fire sale of all those assets, relegation from the Premier League in 2004, and a season starting on minus 15 points in League One. Leeds have done a really good job to actually recover back to where they were. Promotion and then a 9th place finish in their first year back in the Prem made you think that Leeds were back, but now sitting perilously above the relegation zone again with Big Sam Allardyce as manager, things are really not looking good for Leeds. Now, as I'm recording this video, Leeds are currently 17th in the Premier League, only above the drop on goal difference after Leeds were defeated 2-1 by Man City. On face value, not a bad result for a defence that's been as open as a Prince Harry autobiography.
My penis was oscillating.
Now, of course, this game for Leeds against Manchester City was Big Sam Allardyce's first in charge. Big Sam is a survival specialist, alright? His job is taking a side that's struggling and keeping them in the Premier League. But of course, he's known for his defensive, stout, anti-football kind of approach. So Pep Guardiola was a little bit intimidated when he lined up with 37 men behind the ball. And look, Pep Guardiola might have found his match here, because before the game, and Sam Allardyce was making some bold claims, suggesting that he's right up there with Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola, but he's not seen that way because his name isn't Sam Allardyce. No, I'm looking forward to Sam Allardyce arriving on the training ground. Defender, El fucking baller. To be honest, I think he even backs himself as a footballer these days.
Messi's alright. He's basic though. I'm better than Messi.
I'm not gonna lie, the passing stats were backing up the ideology that Big Sam Allardyce, he's not a possession man. There were several Man City players that had more passes completed than Leeds' entire count. Rico Lewis is still a child, alright? If he's having more passes than your entire squad in 45 minutes, it's gonna be peak for you. And it was, because Leeds were 2-0 down inside 27 minutes, and their players were already fearing the worst.
I'm finished.
I can't lie, I was expecting Erling Haaland's highlights to be pretty ruthless, but in the end, this is the Erling that arrived to the game. I knew there was something suspicious about this kid. To be fair, at least he arrived. I'm pretty confident that Patrick Bamford missed the bus. Erling Haaland just can't handle that Dixie Dean pressure. That's what's going on here. Hang on, we might have to rewind. We might have to do VAR there for a second. Erling Haaland just can't handle that He can't handle the Dixie Dean pressure, bro. So, for those that don't know, Dixie Dean, an English striker that scored a shed load of goals for Everton in the 20s. Erling Haaland has technically broken the Premier League record for most goals in a season, but hasn't broken the all-time record for an English-based footballer because Dixie Dean back in the day did so. Even though Dixie Dean was doing overlapping runs with Moses. Brother, the centre-backs he was playing up against were Knights of the Round Table. Dixie was devastated when he found out the offside rule had been created. But nah, the thing is, you've got to score goals against what's in front of you, right? At the end of the day, he was still the best of anyone in that era. But Erling Haaland in that time period would have been hilarious.
A bit shit, but that's all it is.
To be fair though to Leeds, and a much more spirited second half from Big Sam's side. Because after Gundogan missed a penalty and Erling Haaland missed a couple of really good chances, Rodrigo managed to bag one back with around about 5-10 minutes of the game to go. One thing that Big Sam will not have his team do is concede 6 or 7 goals. Because the fact of the matter is, he had Manchester City doing up time wasting against him. And not many people can do that.
There's nobody ahead of me in football terms.
And Sam Allardyce managing an English club at a time of a king's coronation. He was belting it out in the dressing room before kickoff. How did we get here as far as these are concerned? How did Sam Allardyce end up taking on this role? I mean, as far as Javi Gracia is concerned, I never really rated him that highly anyway. A 6-1 loss to Liverpool, a 5-1 loss to Palace, another capitulation against Bournemouth. These are results that are going to get you relegated. If you can't defend, if you're conceding like 30 goals in the space of about 6 games, you're gonna go down. Plus, Sam Allardyce, he's got supernatural powers, alright? All he needs to do is down 1 pint of Bisto and he's ready for action.
That tastes like relegation.
Brendan Aronson's been sold a dream by anti-football Big Sam, and he's now got some confidence again.
We're going to win 3-0 tonight.
Meanwhile, Patrick Bamford's just trying to fit in with the rest of the group under a man who simply doesn't believe in the Conservative Party.
Oh mate, that is absolutely dotty. Turn that up. What is that, garage?
But this really it's a lot deeper than Sam Allardyce, and whether he'll be able to keep them up is a mystery. The short-term and long-term future of Leeds just doesn't look as inspiring and stable as it did a few years ago. Now, as I mentioned, Leeds have been through the mill, you know, from the dropping out of the Champions League, Peter Ridsdale loaning money in back in the early thousands, under the assumption that Leeds would stay in the Champions League, then dropping out of it, not being able to pay back those creditors, a fire sale involving Rio Ferdinand and so many other players, eventual relegation just a couple years later. As I mentioned earlier, they even started a League One campaign in the middle of the 2000s on a minus 15 points deduction. These guys have been going through the mill and have been since Ken Bates' ownership. Shocking, absolutely terrible. Massimo Cellino. How the fuck he even got through the fit and proper test, I don't even know. They did manage to find some stability in the next Italian takeover in around about 2017. And through director of football Javi Orta, even managed to get Marcelo Bielsa as manager. And that was the first, like, majorly, like, game-changing decision. Obviously, they spent a lot of money bringing Marcelo Bielsa in. The guy used to manage Argentina, for God's sake. Serious boss. I know some people in England kind of doubt him a little bit. But at the end of the day, the results do speak for themselves, and he was by far and away the best manager in terms of just, like, tactical know-how in the division at the time. Leeds get promoted, obviously, with the likes of your Calvin Phillipses and stuff in the team. And more importantly, Leeds have a bit of an identity. They chase down, they work hard, they run at everything, they're intense, and they're actually exciting to watch. But more importantly than that, in their first season in the Premier League, they actually achieved unbelievable heights. You know, they've now brought some serious Premier League quality in. Rafinha was unbelievable in that first season, and they finished 9th in the league. But behind the scenes, I feel like there's been some really shocking decisions going on, and not investing in the side again for Marcelo Bielsa's second season is just where it all started going wrong. He managed to do a really good job with that team. It was not the 9th best squad in the league when they finished 9th, and it needed more reinvestment again, and that just never came. So for that second season, they basically went into it with arguably the same squad. Certainly not enough depth to actually deal with another full season of that sort of intensity. The way Marcelo Bielsa sets up his side, you are going to be running all day and for 2 hours afterwards, right? You're probably running home after the game. You need to have a thick squad. It's like what we say as, you know, at Liverpool with Jurgen Klopp in charge. You've got to have a squad that's got quite a lot of depth to it, because there's going to be a lot of fatigue, there's going to be a lot of injuries, and my fucking God, were there a lot of injuries at Leeds last season. If you look at the bench last year, not a single driving license in sight.
At a push 17!
Marcelo Bielsa then apparently vetoed a few signings in the January that followed, and soon after he was gone. At the end of the day, he was let down, for me, by recruitment and a lack thereof, and also just a lack of depth in that squad that just never arrived. Patrick Bamford picked up injuries. There were crucial other injuries to other main players. Dan James was like their marquee signing. I mean, they were doomed from the start. So now Jesse Marsch is in. Not the greatest of appointments for me, but at least he managed to keep them up and then turn the entire squad into Red Bull Leeds. And this is where the second set of poor decisions comes into play again, because not only did they sell, obviously, Calvin Phillips, they lost Rafinha to Barcelona, but they didn't reinvest that money well at all. You got Brendan Aronson. Started off really well, actually. Got some crucial goals towards the start of the season that I think a lot of people forget about, but then lost form, lost confidence with playing for the club's under-21s team. Christensen is just wank, I'm not gonna lie. Sinisterra's alright, but he's been injured a lot this season. And then at a crucial time in the season, right, where you're in a relegation scrap, that's confirmed. And it's a big one as well. There's a lot of teams involved. You need to strengthen that squad. Not bring in a child from Hoffenheim who might not even get into the first team for big money. They signed Jorginho Rutter from Hoffenheim for 28 million euros. He's played 10 games for the club and he hasn't got a goal contribution yet. The only real standouts in terms of transfers have probably been Wilfred Gnonto, who's been absolutely amazing. And the one position they actually managed to replace, arguably in terms of a defensive midfielder with Phillips leaving, Tyler Adams, because Tyler Adams is cold. But he's got injured now, and as soon as he's out, they've started conceding loads of goals again. So transfers, poor. You've now lost the status and kind of culture at the club that you had at Leeds through Marcelo Bielsa. Bielsa leaving, basically nothing that made them so good during that season where they finished 9th in the Prem remains. And now you've got a man who is quite literally the antithesis of Marcelo Bielsa's footballing culture, trying to keep them up for 4 games at the end of the season. I mean, if you wanted to go down the Sam Allardyce approach, you had to hire him earlier. And there's a good chance that you're paying him a lot of money. He has no future, realistically, at Leeds beyond this season, and you still get relegated. Javi Orta sarcastically told the Leeds fans that they should sack the board back in November. Now he's been sacked in a severe case of karma, and this football club is falling apart at the seams in terms of long-term strategy and understanding of what they want to do. They've not been helped by key players dropping into some poor form when people like Ilian Melier are just shocking all season. What chance do you stand? One thing I will say is you've got luck on your side, because one thing you've got is Everton and Southampton, who are in equal levels of turmoil, who are struggling just as badly in this relegation battle with you. Even Leicester, who are falling apart as a football club too. That though is going to wrap up today's video. What do you make about the Leeds United situation? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, then of course feel free to slap a like on it and subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @theofficialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.